Good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to the stream, Silk. Welcome to the stream, Sin. Good to have you. Now, my Twitter mentions have been very entertaining for the last 24 hours or so. Hi there, Graknork. About the Demon Souls stuff. Yes, exactly, about the Demon Souls stuff, which is why we're streaming Demon Souls today. I felt like there was a lot I wanted to talk about this game. That doesn't really fit into tweets, and I wanted to have the game in front of me. One, to show to people that I own it and I've played it, and to kind of just go through maybe the first couple of areas and sort of point out some of the things that you know I think. I mean, the whole game has problems, I think, in the art direction department, but I wanted to just sort of talk through a few of them, and yeah, get you guys get your thoughts on the remake. Sin, did I miss something? Maybe. Recently, I think Bluepoint have been back in the sort of gaming news because Sony decided to shut down their studio. Now, I want to get ahead of anyone before we begin any of this. I don't think anyone deserves to lose their jobs over any of this. Like, I'm not happy that Bluepoint got shut down. I think, I would have liked, I used to like Bluepoint. I thought some of their earlier like HD remasters or like remakes, remasters were really good. And I even sort of liked the Shadow of the Colossus remake they did. I thought it lacked a lot of source that the original had, but I liked it. I was like, this looks pretty, and it's a different interpretation on the game. I've soured on them in the years since, and this Demon Souls remake is part of the reason why. Yeah, the studio pitched a Bloodborne remake last year and were declined. I think FromSoft might have been involved in that decision, but don't quote me on that. I'm not a gaming news outlet. I don't know. But yeah, they pitched that early last year, I think January 2025, and then they were shut down like last month, I think, maybe the month before, maybe a few weeks ago. I can't exactly remember. But Sony basically just acquired them and then shut them down. I don't think anyone, like I said, deserves to lose their jobs over this stuff, and that's not where I'm coming at this from. I'm not just sort of like dancing on Bluepoint's grave. I think they made a game. They made, a piece of art. They made artistic decisions as part of this game, and I think it's fair enough to criticize and to critique those decisions and what the way they handled the remake and the sort of like the artistic decisions they were asked, they were tasked with making. I think that it's all their game. The fact that the studio no longer exists, I'm not taking glee in the fact that they were shut down or like I said, dancing on their grave. That's not where we're coming from with this. We are responding to a piece of art, that a game that they made. So with that said, I also want to get out of the way. Some of the observations I'm going to make while we play this are not going to be like original. They're not going to be like, purely off the top of my dome. I've watched a lot of other people writing and talking about this game since. Those will have necessarily like informed and influenced my thinking on it. Some for the better, some for the worse. So don't expect any of this to sound like this is my thesis on the game. Some of this stuff is stuff that I've seen other people discuss. And the other bits of it are, hopefully going to be original observations. But I'm no longer in a position where I can tell what was necessarily a purely original observation about this game, because I've seen and read so much about it, that has all become part of the sort of melange of my thought process on this game. So without further ado, let's head on over to the game screen.
Sexy boy.
Thank you for following Forever Winter. Good to have you. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, God damn it, Riker. Hi there. Hey, BK. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you. Riker hates remake culture. It's not jazz. Yeah. But yeah, I've moved over to my PlayStation main menu screen because I think the problems start early with Demon's Souls Remake, and they start before you've even actually started the game. I don't know if you can see it behind the text, behind the chat window. Let me just make you all vanish for a little bit. The game is subtitled there, The Original Brutal Challenge Entirely Rebuilt. And I think this is already like something I've not liked really about the direction of the Souls series in the last few years, is that it's become this sort of like gamer rite of passage. It's this brutal challenge, this difficult thing that you have to prove yourself as a true gamer by. I don't ever think that was really the point of the Souls games, or at least the early ones. They were difficult, but it was to build a vibe and to build a sort of sense of hostility and, and a sense of satisfaction in overcoming it. I don't think the whole point was how they're meant to be just so difficult. They are like sadistic and torturing you. So yeah, before you even start the game, already what the series is now, and it's unavoidable to some extent, but it has influenced what the game is. And I also want to focus on this scene as well. This opening, this like image of all these characters bearing down on the Slayer of Demons. It's got a very different feel. It's about how this game is, a challenge. All these monsters are menacingly like rounding on you, and you're standing alone against them. That's the vibe they're trying to give the game. And like I said, the problems begin early. Already in this opening scene, the colors are like way more stark than they are in the original. The original, a lot of these colors were washed out in this opening scene, and I think it was intentional to give a sense of bleakness. And I think it was meant to make you sort of feel, a bit hopeless, but instead it's got these kind of orange and teal, complementary color scheme that is just endemic of like so many AAA games and movie posters and movies now. And again, you've got this sort of like epic cutscene where the Slayer of Demons is charging into a battle. The original cutscene was not like this. It was more sort of dreamlike, and the knight was shown as being quite methodical in his approach to combat, whereas now he just seems like a berserk madman charging into battle. The earlier games like Demon's Souls and Dark Souls managed to tap into some form of nostalgic memory type aesthetic, the dream half remembered. Exactly, yeah. I think the PS3 games got a lot of flack for being overbloomed and very hazy, But I liked that aesthetic. I thought it was very sort of ethereal and dreamlike. I think someone on Twitter pointed out that there's a moon in the background there for no real reason other than, well, Bloodborne had a moon. You know, we're just kind of like adding details and making artistic choices based on what other games have done, rather than making the choices for themselves. So already, you know, we haven't even started the game, and already there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about in terms of artistic decisions, which have already deviated from the original vision. Instead of washed out.
Orange point, am I right?
Blue and orange point. That's good. That's good. I got to admit. Yeah, you know, rather than washed out colors suggesting a sort of like hazy, bleak, maybe slightly retro feel, like the film itself, that this is being the kind of memory that this is etched into is starting to fade with time. It instead goes for these bright colors. Like the main menu screen looks like this in Demon Souls, the original, and in Dark Souls as well. The main menu doesn't look like this. It's just a... Why can't I skip this? Oh, I have to hold down the X button. This is how the main menu looked in the original Demon Souls. It looked like this, just a black screen with, you know, start, and then it gave you the load options. Instead, we get this. This is the Nexus, which you'll notice is very green and orange. Yeah, maybe the blue and orange stuff is like a reference to Portal, who knows. Yeah, so, you know, we also have the kind of the modern like body type A and body type B, which when they're clearly just male and female, I almost just sort of wish they would just call them male and female. So yeah, like, oh my god. We're gonna be royalty because I think we get some spells yet. Starting gift. It really matters. Providential ring. Sorry, seems like the best thing. So that's new. The providential ring. I don't think that exists in the original, and certainly not as a starting gift. Yeah. That was my previous character when I played this before. I tried to make a sort of like demonic twink, which is probably what I'm going to do again. Do we have any presets? Yes, I think we do. Yeah, I think I used this preset as a basis for the original. And Silk, I agree with you. I totally wish more games would give us the gender slider. That's a great idea. I think that's really fun. So many of these characters just... I mean, you could make some wild-looking characters in the original Demon Souls, but now the game is sort of like telling you already, oh, look, you can make a purple man. You can make... You know, who is this? Like, where does this fit into the game's lore? Like, beforehand, if you wanted to make a character like this, you had to mess with the game sliders and settings to purposefully distort your character into something like this. Now, game almost wants you to be like an orc. Like, it just, you know, I don't get where they were coming from with making... You can be a green person. That's in the presets now. It's not just like a fun little Easter egg that you can do. And so many of these characters as well, I think, honestly, they just look like these sort of bug-eyed... You know, They look like they wouldn't... That looks like a character from a DreamWorks film. Hi there, French Lighting John? French Lightning, sorry. Preset characters should always respect game lore and settings. Character customization is there if we want to go outside of it. Yeah, I fully agree. That's exactly where I'm coming from. Like, if you want to make your character a silly little goblin man, absolutely you should be allowed to. But the presets should be fitting with the established game world, I think. But instead, you know, we get this kind of like Skyrim-looking motherfucker. Is this sort of like, I don't know, like Gollum and Thanos had a love child. Like an orc. This is just a Skyrim character. So anyway, we're going to go with the demon twink, because why not? Can we change his eyes? I don't know if we can separate the eye colours. I feel like they went for a generic fantasy setting. Absolutely, it seems like they did. They just, you know, they didn't really care about the sort of world and lore of Demon Souls, and just all the characters are just like fantasy characters. I can't seem to stop my eyes from glowing. Oh, main color. Oh. I don't really know why I'm spending any time doing this. Like, it doesn't really matter. I'm not that married to my Demon Souls remake character. Ellie, essentially you're highlighting how well they had no artistic cohesion. They were told to make a remake, and as a remake it's soulless. This is my contention. That is basically my entire kind of point, is that there is no artistic cohesion. There's no coherency. There's just seemingly sort of random, you know, like, I think the facial tattoos and stuff, that's all really cool. But it's like, in all the presets, almost sort of like it expected. No one else in the game really has that, I don't think. I want to change my hair color. Oh, there's some. Ooh, do I want a ponytail? Let's just go. Why not? I'll make it lavender. That's pretty. Can't make odd eyes, unfortunately. We have it doesn't really matter. There we go. Oh, I need to put in a name, don't I? Meryl. So yeah. Now, this in the original, this is told with an almost like a crackling sound of like a fire, and it's kind of like it's got a film grain effect on it in the original, I think, which makes it gives it this sort of like, you know, fireside, campsite story being relayed to you.
Cut off from the outside world, and those who dared penetrate the deep fog never returned.
And the iconic music is just,
of the royal twin
it's so like lost in the audio mix.
And told the world of Boletaria's plight.
Like the music for this scene in the original is so prominent, you cannot miss it.
From its eternal slumber, and that a colorless fog had swept in, unleashing terror.
I don't know why they re-recorded the dialogue for this either. They didn't really need to.
Claim their souls. Those who lose their souls lose also their minds. The mad attack the sane, and chaos reigns.
Like, I like these are based on original concept art, I think, and these scenes were in the original, but they sort of animated them because I guess they figure that the iPad babies playing this are going to get bored if it's not kind of moving a little bit. If it's just a static image, they're going to be distracted. I don't. That decision doesn't bother me so much, but it does just sort of seem like it's the kind of thing I would do on a project I was working on, just so I could point and say, "Look, I did something."
Pure of the twin fangs. Yet the silent chief.
The original very much like tapping into the imagination to fill in the details while someone is telling you the story. Yeah, the original feels like you're having a legend relayed to you.
The sixth Saint Astraea with her night girl Vinland.
And I know I'm talking over it, but the music is completely lost in the audio mix. I'd be surprised if you guys can even hear it, honestly. I can hear it because I'm wearing headphones, piping the audio directly into my ear holes, but...
The deep fog will eventually swallow all lands near and far. But Boletaria has one final hope. A lone warrior who has braved the baneful fog.
Now there's a sort of musical swelling, as though this is meant to...
Savior, or have the demons found a new slave?
That, I think, is meant to be a point of, like, wondering, like, oh, is it's alluding to it's foreshadowing the end of the game. Are you going to save the world or destroy it? But instead, you get this sort of heroic swell of music there, suggesting that you're just a hero. Yeah, the OG music was setting the sadness of what happened and how quickly, exactly how rapidly this scourge of demons had swept in and ruined everything. Now, yes, we are going to play the Journey to the Nexus because there's a point I want to make here. Now, for starters, there's a storm going on, I guess, in this version that wasn't there in the original. We've lost a lot of the sound, like there was like a sound of like fog. That's gone. Instead, the monumental here a bolt of lightning opens up a gate that looks like it could have come out of Fortnite. We just get sort of generic sci-fi noises for walking through it. Now here is... I don't want to labour this point too much, but here's one of the major... Like, here there's lots of foliage and overgrowth. This makes sense. This area, the Murden Temple, is abandoned and has been abandoned. And in the lore, you understand why. It's because this place was lost to the demons, and in order to seal the demons away, the Monumentals effectively partitioned off this part of the world, either physically or magically. We don't really know. We don't get much description of that. But this place has been abandoned and therefore is overgrown and abandoned. This is true in the remake, in the original as well. There's lots of foliage here. So the argument that people were making on Twitter that, oh, there's no foliage and overgrowth in the original Boletarian Palace because FromSoft were working on the PS3 and the PS3 was just too technologically limited is bullshit. There was foliage here in the original, and this sort of like shaft of light here, this is kind of looks quite cool. And you step out into just this sort of courtyard. Oh God, he's going to attack me. It's circle round. All right, kill him. But yeah, we circle into this courtyard. This all makes sense for this to be abandoned. Let me now bring up on screen what this looked like in the original. Now this is the same corridor we've just walked through. So if I stand almost exactly where I am, oh, there's a later image. But yeah, here there's this shaft of light. In the original, this bit is actually open. This entire roof has kind of caved in, and you can see very clearly the Murden Temple in the background there. Very square and angular looking building. We'll come back to that. But this is one of like the iconic scenes, I think, from this opening level, and it's just changed here. Instead, you've got this sort of like these shafts of light. It all looks very impressive. Like if you never played the original, you wouldn't notice, or you wouldn't know that like, oh, this used to look different. You'd just be sort of like, I don't know, impressed by the graphical whiz-bangs of it. And yeah, the graphics look very pretty. Like it's running at 4K FPS, 60 FPS. The shaft of light looks kind of cool and stuff. But that's about all it's got going for, is that it looks more like a modern game. The actual design of the place is going to be is very different, which we'll come back to. Hi Rai, welcome to the stream. Good to have you. Don't worry about being late. We've barely started, although I have been. I've barely started the game, and I've already been complaining for like a good 20 minutes. I think you can just about see the what used to be the temple in the background there. Now look at that. I don't want to sound like I'm insulting any of you here, but that's a triangle. The original is a square. I'm hearing the words coming out of my mouth. But the point is, it's changed quite dramatically. Gone is the kind of square, very distinct, weird-looking building of the Murden Temple, and it's been replaced with a sort of Gothic spires and towers. Yeah, and it's because Dark Souls 3 had a lot of Gothic spires in it. Bloodborne had a lot of Gothic spires in it. And so Bluepoint, I think, have thoughtlessly kind of copied those same elements and gone, look, Gothic spires. Now, this place is meant to have been abandoned. Part of it's on fire. I don't know if you can see that on the stream very well, but I can just about make it out on my screen. Part of it's on fire. As though it's currently being burned down, or it's currently under attack, but by whom, it's not entirely clear. The original was an abandoned temple, not a kind of battlefield. Yeah, well, I think we get a better look at that in a little bit. So we'll proceed forward. But the rest of this level, this is all sort of, this is sort of what you'd expect. I don't think the sound effects are as good. The stabbing sound effects. People have praised the sound design of this remake. I think the sound design is quite generic, honestly. Killed by dreglings. I can't show off the backstab because I'm... Oh. You do that little flourish, and like that's a cool animation, but it's different than the original, and seemingly for no other reason than, well, to just be different. And it makes you feel like, more of a sort of crazed warrior than I don't know, like a fairly stoic adventurer. This is a different vibe. Hi, Ubercat 098, welcome to the stream, good to have you. Sounds like every modern AAA game with a generic crunchy feel to them. Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think the sound design is bland in this version of the game. Yes, here we go. You now get a much closer look at the temple, which is on fire, seemingly. I don't really understand why, and also it's way more gothic. Now, once again, I'm going to bring up on screen. This is how it looked in the original. Like, the texture quality is a bit crunchy at this distance, but like, this is a very different appearing building. And I want to know, why was this changed? Why was it changed specifically to Gothic architecture, other than the fact that that's just what people expect epic fantasy stuff to look like? Hi, Comedy Mold. Welcome to the stream. The voices remind me of that Breaking Bad meme dub parodying anime dubs. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, like, they've changed this and made it all sort of like Gothic styled with these arches and these spires and towers, and it just looks so generic. It looks like a lot of, in Demon Souls, I think that was the point, that a lot of the places looked sort of Gothic, whereas in this area did not look Gothic in the original. So why does it now? It's easy to kind of say that, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I think it does. I think it matters an awful lot how it looks, because it carries a connotation. The architecture here is now very similar to the architecture we're going to see in Boletaria. You could very easily be fooled into thinking that this place is the same as Boletaria. We are in Boletaria right now. I don't think we are. We're in a place called the Murden Temple. Over there, you can see they've just managed to preserve what I think is meant to be the ending of the game. So the very end of the game takes place on a beach that the old one comes out of. I think this is meant to be it, both in the original and here. So we're not in Boletaria right now. We're underneath the Nexus somehow, whatever that means, whether that's like a geographic place or a mystical, like, sealed off pocket dimension. We're not in Boletaria right now, so why does the building here look like Boletaria? My God, we're going to spend hours on this if I don't if I don't get a move on. Oh, I think I got parried there. That kind of, like, pause you do when you stab the sword into him and then you do the flourish outwards. It all looks very cool, but it's different. And I don't know. I'm of this opinion that if you're going to change something from an original, you have to have a reason why. Why is it different? Why have you changed it? You can't simply change things just because. And the animations are more impressive, but they have a different vibe, I think. They carry a vibe of being a far more competent warrior. When the original, I think, lets you roleplay as a competent warrior if you want to be, but also I'm not a competent warrior. I'm a royalty. That's the background I picked. I didn't see what just happened on the stream because I was busy yapping. So what was that just happened? I heard some kind of twitch noise. Yeah, so this is part of the reason I picked royalty, because I wanted to show off the spell noise. Right, I didn't see what Twitch just made a noise at me, but yeah, I think I have. Oh yeah, it's yeah. If I start casting some spells, the spell casting noise sounds like a laser blaster. Like, listen to this. which I think is just a poor fit for this. It sounds like a sci-fi noise. It sounds so generic. You know, the Dark Souls and Demon Souls, the spell casting has it almost sounds like a sort of wail, like a soul cry, because the soul arts, the magic is supposed to be channeling the soul. That's kind of why it sounds like a kind of weird ghostly moan. But here it just sounds like a laser blaster. And the archstones are another thing they've changed. It's now sort of smouldering and on fire, because, well, that's sort of what happened in Bloodborne. Things were sort of smouldering and embering and on fire all the time. But now the archstones, which were meant to be like, you know, these kind of holy relics, are now just sort of like look like the smouldering skull of a demon. Because I don't think what they were. They were meant to be stones that were put in place by the Monumental in order to hold the world together. Hi there, Lava Avaritia. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you. Is that an umbrella symbol in your name? Very cool.
Pew 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 lasers. Ye.
Yeah, Russell has the right of it. It you know, pew 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 pew. Russell being the name of the Australian voice there. Also, that sort of whip sound effect that the souls play now as they enter into you, I don't like that either. That's just a purely preference thing. I think it's strange that it sounds like that. Oh damn! Through the neck. I can't remember if there's any reason to... Oh yeah, there's a blue eye knight here, isn't there? Can I still hit him while he's on the ground? Yes, I can. Hang on, if I miss something. Or can I not go upstairs? Yeah, I can't go. Not here. This is meant to be teaching us about parrying. It's actually teaching you how to circle around enemies and backstab them. There's another reason I like being the royalty, is you get a smaller shield, which I think can parry faster. Does the character do these flourishes with other weapons too, or just a rapier? The particular like swish with holding the blade in front, that is a rapier thing only. But the animations for all of the, I wonder if I can. First of all, I want to put the wand in my hand, because I think if I can parry someone and then punch them, you'll see the animations are just more brutal all round. They'll be punching people now. Let's try. Oh, this guy won't attack me because he's a ranged guy. Yeah, but the soul absorbing sound, it no longer sounds as if you're absorbing them. It sounds as if they're like kind of whipping into you somehow. I also think is it here? No, it's in the room with the big cauldron, which I think is. Oh yeah, it's this one here. In the original, this big cauldron is full of blood. Damn. It's just so unnecessarily brutal. What was that fighting counter noise? I mean, the big thump sound effect that you get when you counter someone is an artifact from the original. It does sound a little bit different here. I don't really know why, but yeah, here this blood soup that they're cooking, full of like dead like animals. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe zoom in on the stream, but yeah, French Lightning John. That is something I've seen Miyazaki say in a bunch of interviews, is that he preferred elegance and refinement. The sort of grotesquerie and brutality for the sake of it is not something I think is something he particularly relishes in his art. I think we're getting close to Vanguard, and Vanguard is also looks very different than he did in the original. I can quickly try and send across. Oh, this guy's gonna kill me. I have to. I was going to try and find a picture of Vanguard to put on screen from the original. I might be able to do that. Right. Send that. Myself. I'm going to put that in my own Discord. Now, here on OBS, add image. Oh, I didn't give it a very good name, so I'm gonna have to find it. There we go. So here's Vanguard from the original. He's a demon, as you might have guessed. He has 3 eyes, which is the first thing you notice about him because they're literally glowing. Though, I don't know whether how many of you. I'm probably teaching some of you to suck eggs here, but like third eyes are often related to like enlightenment. Vanguard isn't just like a mindless monster. He's a demon who is, I think, born out of human corruption or greed or something, or lust for power. He's remained here at the Murden Temple because I think he was part of the first wave of the first scourge of demons, and he's implied, I think, to be sort of mind controlling the Dreglings and warriors here. Yeah, he's got this kind of leathery skin. He's got this quite sort of neutral look on his face. He doesn't. He's very alien looking, almost sort of like, I don't know, almost like something out of I don't know, like Lovecraft or something. As we'll see when we head into his boss arena here, he's just been turned into a generic doom demon, and his glowing eyes are no longer yellow, they're red, so that you know he's evil. Because otherwise you might think he was a good guy, I guess. But what was just a demon who has inhabited this area, is turned into this sort of like malign force, rather than just like a demon born of human greed, or born from the human lust for power. He's now this sort of malign. I don't know, like, yeah, his skin is all like ripped and pustuled and grotesque as well. It's just a completely different design that I don't think captures the elegance of the original. I picked up this version of Demon's Souls without realizing it was a Blue Point remake and bounced off it pretty much immediately because the character creator looks so ugly. Not even the charming way the usual Soul sliders are ugly. Yeah, that's totally valid. Right, I was the same, honestly. I also missed some other chat messages. Let me catch up quick. Winter, even Bloodborne, some of its more egregious designs felt less outwardly grotesque and monstrous than some of the things I've seen in the Dark Souls remake. Yeah, I mean, like, the most grotesque things in Bloodborne, I think, are there precisely to give you this sense of sort of gross out, you know, the covered in blood and kind of bandaged and things. Whereas here, everything looks like that. Everything's skin looks like it's been sort of like frayed and ripped and torn. Anyway, I'm probably going to die to Vanguard, so can't lock onto him. So. This arena's way bigger as well than in the original. But look at his skin. Look at him. He's all ripped to pieces. We haven't even touched him. Like he's just like this. Oh, that's me. I would have liked that boss fight to have gone on a little longer, just so I could talk about it. But
Soul of the lost withdrawn from its vessel.
So we awaken the Nexus to the maiden saying her prayer over us. Look how green everything is. Green and orange.
Soul of the lost withdrawn from its vessel.
Now we're going to spend a lot of time here talking about this, because there's a lot to discuss.
So the world might be mended. This is the Nexus. It holds together the northern.
I don't know if you can hear that, but the controller's like pulsing in my hands using the PS5 haptics.
Thou canst not quit the Nexus, but the five archstones.
Hi there, Sign of
guide thee
Zeta.
to the outer
Welcome to the
lands.
stream. Good to have you. Remake's just gotta be green. Look at Yakuza Kiwami. Yeah, it seems to be a fucking endemic. But yeah, here we are in the like now. The Nexus is one of the most iconic places in the entire series, I think. The music from the original is gone. The kind of slow plucking a few notes, then silence, then plucking a few more notes, this kind of melancholic, deliberate use of long pauses and phrases of silence as though kind of forcing introspection and some quiet time. It's all gone. Instead, we get... I don't know if you can even hear the background music here, but it's got like a choir to it almost. Like, have I got the music turned down or something? No, I've got it at max, and you just can't hear it. So I get already like one of the most striking things about the Nexus, not here, the music. Why? Why, Blue Point? Why did you take that music away? And yeah, and why does it look so orange and green? It didn't look like this in the original. It was kind of it was quite sort of piss yellow, which people a lot, I think say a lot of PS3 games look like. But it gave this sense of like a dusty, I don't know, like forgotten temple, like a shrine that was used, that served a particular ancient purpose, but is not like, not well maintained. Here, it's all like marble floors that look shiny and swept. It's like it has a team of janitors going through it and scrubbing all the floors. Yeah, and in phantom form, you sort of like you leave like footprints on this magical barrier here, as though it's made of like, I don't know, like jelly or something. Yeah, the Maiden in Black is supposed to be one of the only people here, or who like, you know, really tends to anything here, and she goes around maintaining the candles. That's her, and looking after the slayers of demons. She must have like a team of janitors with her, like sweeping the place up, because it's so well kept. It doesn't have this kind of dusty old feel to it. And the archstones, which again are these kind of ancient relics put together by the previous monumentals to hold the fabric of the world together and to seal the old one, are now these kind of like really grandiose, you know, like you know, obsidian and ivory and immaculately sculpted things, rather than these kind of ancient relics that they look like. This one, it's broken, and I think inside it looks, you know, all sort of crystalline, like it's a geode in there, which is you know, cool. That's a cool idea, but I think, you know, it's kind of, I don't recall that detail in the original. So yeah, there's already just like, there's so much to talk about here. Like, and if you like all these changes and you like the way it looks, you know, fine, power to you. But it's so different from the original, and it carries, I think, a different vibe and a different feeling. And I think if you're going to make it different than the original, then don't call this Demon's Souls Remake. Because it's not remaking the original. It's trying to iterate on it. It's trying to improve it. You know, it's taking decisions and an artistic, you know, license with things that diverts, I think, from the original vision. Even if that wasn't the intent, it's certainly the result. Statue here at the top was holding a sword. Now it's gone. Yeah, the statue here is originally holding one of these many sort of like swordish looking things, which plunges down in the final cutscene and lands in the end game area, where there's dozens of them stuck in the ground, suggesting that this cycle has happened many times before.
Well, you slipped through the fissure too.
And here's like another thing, like,
came for demon souls, or to save this land and be remembered as a hero.
like I think
Hunting for demons.
this is now like a full sort of cutscene, I think.
Now go. That is why you came, is it not? To this accursed Poletaria.
I don't remember that being like exactly a cutscene in the original. I could be remembering wrong, but I don't like the facial animations in this game, and this guy is one of gets it the worst. He looks like he's straining to take a shit the whole time you're talking to him. Just you know, really zoom in on this guy and appreciate this guy's facial
I'm
expressions.
Stockpile Thomas. When the Scourge came, I didn't know what hit me. When I came to, I found myself here in this nexus. My wife and daughter fell victim to the demons. But I would be worthless in battle. At the very least, I hope to lend my assistance to you brave slayers of demons. I would be happy to lighten your load and look after any excess baggage.
I'm putting him behind me. Look at the way his face is animated. It looks like he's straining to take a shit. It's, you know, it looks as well just so exaggerated. It's uncanny in the worst way. Like, it's not uncanny in a way that is I think intended to be unsettling and strange. this is meant to be a normal human. This is meant to be someone who is part of the ordinary world, not someone who has been twisted and warped by demons. This guy isn't meant to be strange and off-putting and unsettling, and he comes across that way anyway.
When the scourge came,
Looks like he's in pain.
my wife.
And I know he is, like, in emotional pain, but he looks like I'm, stepping on his toe or something.
When I came to, I was in this nexus. I haven't dared venture outside these walls since. I wish I could do more, but I am ignorant of the world beyond these walls.
He says he's ignorant of the world beyond these walls. He comes from outside these walls. He's not from here. Why is he saying that?
My candle maiden cared for me. She says very little, but has a kind heart. She's just a poor girl, trapped here with her eyes occluded by wax. If only something could be done to help her.
Right. I want to store it. I don't really have anything worth storing at the moment.
To you.
I don't have anything worth talking to Baldwin about either. Let's hop in to the first level. I could spend more time just getting myself wound up and but yeah, this area, a place that when I first played Demon Souls, after a session of playing, I would sometimes come back to the Nexus, and I would just leave the game running whilst I was in my room at uni, and I would just just leave it there and listen to the music and sort of soak up the vibe, because I thought the Nexus was a strangely comforting place. Here, it doesn't feel particularly comforting. It feels quite ominous, and the use of greens and oranges is unsettling, I think. Let's head on to Bolitarian Palace, and you can already see there the next thing I'm going to complain about. He sounds so emotionless when talking about the Maiden in Black. In the OG, I remember him having a really sad voice. Yeah, he seems genuinely cut up about it. Did you hear that noise? I don't know how to explain it, but I'm going to try and make a fist of it. I'm not a sound person. I'm not like an audio, like, music type aficionado. That's not really my wheelhouse. But the sound effects all have this sort of, like, implosion quality to them, as though they're being kind of sucked inwards. Like, when it landed on the bridge there, it's almost like the impact goes like... It's like it collapses into itself, the sound does. I don't know how to explain it, because, again, I'm not, like, a sound person. But a load of the sound effects in this game have that quality to them. They sort of like sound like these sucking, like, sci-fi sound effects of, like, implosions. And people have praised the sound design in this game. I just do not see it. It doesn't work for me. It brings me out of it. I didn't even point out in the Nexus, by the way, on the journey to the Nexus, one of the trees in one of the starting areas is on fire for seemingly no reason. I didn't point it out at the time because I was too busy looking at the Archstone and talking about how that's on fire for no real reason. But go back and look at that part where I'm talking about the Archstone for the first time. And yeah, one of the trees in the background is just on fire, seemingly for no real reason. Bolitarian Palace. Bolitarian Palace. You want to see what Bolitarian Palace looked like in the original? This is what Bolletarian Palace looked like in the original. I mean, this is the gate to the Bolletarian Palace, the sort of the first few fortress layers of it. Now, look at this. And then look at this. Compare and contrast. Now, I'm not going to, this design has a lot more going on. It's a lot busier. Superficially, if you didn't know what either of these two things look like, and you were asked to say which one looks more impressive without any context, then I think this one, has more going on. It's got more animations, it's got more little details to it. So you might think that, without any context whatsoever, this one is the sort of the better looking thing. However, if you do like context, and you don't just get easily impressed by keys jangling in your face, this is what it looked like in the original. You can say that it looks more boring, but it's supposed to. It looks this way because it's meant to be a defensible fortress. Boletaria is described by Ostrava as or the people of Boletaria described as modest and plain. Boletaria is a grand kingdom, but it is a humble one. It is a kingdom that in living memory has had to deal with a war, and so the fortress is a defensible fortress. It is purely functional, and it's a kind of Norman style fortress, from what I understand about architecture. History nerds, you can correct me. But yeah, exactly right, Sign of Zeta. You said it exactly right. OG Boletaria means business. It is all business. It is just about, we are going to defend this fortress. New Boletaria has these Gothic spires and these kind of strange little wooden scaffolds built around the outside that as though they're kind of it's currently undergoing construction, and they're sort of enhancing it and modifying it. And those stone arches over the main gate, they're much more decorative, with little sort of sculpted embellishments. The banners hanging down the walls. All of this suggests a kingdom that is less concerned with the practicalities of defending a fortress and more concerned with looking impressive, of trying to look grand and show off splendor and opulence and vanity to its neighbors. Someone who arrives at this fortress is not meant to be met with a cold, austere, defensive position, but a show of wealth and power. And, again, if you prefer this look and you prefer that story, that's fine. That's the story of most of the FromSoft games nowadays, is that they're former grand kingdoms, beset by, that were somehow too arrogant and too conceited, and their own arrogance led to their downfall. Thank you for turning me into a cat while I make this point. I think it definitely helps underscore the seriousness. No, but this is just a very different vibe than the original had. And it doesn't matter whether you prefer one or the other. What's interesting is that it is different. And why is it different? Why has it been changed to look this way? I don't know whether anyone at Bluepoint can offer an explanation for why this is now not a Norman fortress, which would be 11th or 12th century or something, and is now a sort of a Gothic area that is maybe 15th or 16th century. Why has the architecture been advanced forward in time 400, maybe 500 years? It's not clear to me why that is. Old King Doran's burial tomb over there, the mausoleum, is now also just a Gothic cathedral with spires. It used to basically be a square mausoleum. Oh my god, hello. This is one of the remake defenders. Just jumped in to attack me. Alright. Now that they've been dispatched with. And the other thing, once again, parts of it are on fire. Now, it being on fire is interesting. That suggests that there is currently some kind of battle or struggle being fought here. This is a contested area. Why then, everywhere we look around, is there this moss and overgrowth and muck and dirt, as though the place has been abandoned or left for decades, maybe centuries. This place isn't being upkept at all, but it's currently on fire, as though the battle is being fought currently for it. In the original, the struggle for Boletaria is very much ongoing. The corruption and the downfall of Boletaria is a thing that is currently happening. It is a ongoing crisis that the Slayer of Demons ventures into the colourless fog to prevent. In this game, I think Bluepoint copied, again, the feel of other FromSoft games, where you arrive at the world before the battle has really kind of been after the battle has been decided. You arrive in Lordran in Dark Souls, decades, maybe centuries, maybe thousands of years after the events of the story have really happened. In Demon Souls, though, you're meant to be in the middle of things. They're meant to be in the center of the crisis. So it doesn't make any sense that the place is overgrown like this. Whilst also being on fire, as though a battle is currently being fought. And this is the thing I've been trying to explain to people on Twitter, that these artistic decisions don't tell a coherent story. Is this place currently undergoing a crisis and a struggle, or is it long lost and long abandoned? I don't think that the art directors really had a clear idea on what's going on here. They were just sort of copying stuff that worked in other FromSoft games mindlessly. Maybe not mindlessly, that's perhaps harsh to them. I don't know what was... maybe they were being told to do it because they were told, well, Dark Souls 3 sold really well, so make it like Dark Souls 3. Maybe that's what was going on. Bluepoint know nothing about story and art. They just put the thing together they find cool or beautiful and mash them together. I mean, that seems to be my take on the studio, is that when they're working with someone else's stuff, just, updating it and updating the textures and porting it across to a different hardware architecture, they seem like they know what they're doing. But when it comes to doing, like, art direction of their own, I think they don't really have their head screwed on. I think this guy's going to attack these... attack those wooden planks, and they just immediately explode into charcoal, which, again, looks impressive. It looks very graphical and very sort of like, oh, look, all the lighting and all the shaders and all the details. Doesn't really make any sense. Why would that happen? He's got a burning sword. More detail is more graphic, means more better. Yeah, that seems to be the approach a lot of people have to this game. Sign of Zeta. This was a launch title for the PS5, so I'm sure they wanted to pack in as much detail as possible. Yeah, it does come across like it's trying to be a tech demo for how impressive the PS5 can be. I do think the PS5 is plenty impressive. But it's just a shame that they trampled over the original art direction in order to show off that quality. Now I'm going to try and finish this level and be done with it. Be done with this sort of directionless ranting, because there's honestly so much, you know, I could talk about. Oh yeah, that's another thing I can do, because I have the buckler shields. I can stab from behind it. Even the Dregling attacks feel very different. They no longer swing their swords around like mindless people. Yeah, exactly. The Dreglings are meant to be sort of like losing their minds because the demons sort of drive people crazy. I think they've sort of lost some of the source with that one. Whereas the warriors we're about to fight up here are like soldiers of Boletaria. They haven't lost their minds. You know, they are very much like soldiers, and they fight like it. Although I don't like that. Again, the original had these wide-brimmed helmets, which I thought were really iconic style and sort of, you know, very reminiscent of like armors and armor styles during the 100 Years' War. But, you know, it had a distinct sort of historic reference to it. Maybe, you know, a distinct historic reference point which doesn't jive with the architecture, but it was very, it was, you know, it was an iconic style. Whereas now they're just sort of like generic medieval guys with these sort of like rounded helms on. Right, everyone starts going full H-bomb once in a while. Like, yeah, you know, I want to talk more about some positives. You know, sadly with this game, the only positives I can really, you know, credit them with is that, yeah, the lighting all looks very nice, and the you know, the graphics are all sort of very high fidelity. And if you're just impressed by that, then, you know, the game looks great. But I kind of like the art direction of the original and the story that the graphics were trying to tell. And I think a lot of that has been lost in this remake. Focusing so I don't get embarrassingly killed, and then everyone who watches this stream VOD will be able to say, oh, the reason Merle doesn't like Demon Souls is because he's a scrub and he doesn't mind. And, you know, they're not wrong, I am a scrub, but, which is why I'm being a scrub and shooting everyone with spells rather than fighting them. Even the firebomb sounds wrong. It sounds like a modern bomb being thrown with a tint of sci-fi. Yeah, it's got that sort of implosion sound that it's like collapsing in on itself. Oh, here's another thing. This game has a photo mode, which I love photo modes in games, but nowhere is it a worse fit than here. What? What? Why? Why is this like this? You know, it just allows you to make a mockery of the game, I think. You know, yeah, this is the average Demon Souls remake enjoyer in front of his Gothic cathedral, having a great time. Whereas this is me looking at all the pointless overgrowth, all the random added details that seemingly contradict the artistic vision of the original. Got to make sure Norman Reedus can make a silly face at the camera. Yeah, very much. So. go and get the big broadsword. Oh, he parried me. Respect. Ow. It's a shame I can't show off how a bastard sword. That's what. It's a shame I don't have the miracle casting ability, because I could show off how they changed the miracle animation. In the original, the miracle animation is you put your hands together and do a sort of praying gesture, and then the miracle happens. In this, it's just a sort of like generic spell casting gesture. Did he just stand? I swear the AI is just worse in this as well. Maybe I'm imagining that, but in order to make sure that I don't spend hours just throwing myself against the wall, I'm not going to go and take on the Red Eye Knight. I have nothing to prove in terms of gamer cred. If you want to see my gamer credentials, you can go watch me stream the original. I will go and open up the shortcut in case.
Pew pew pew. The spells sound like Star Wars toys.
Yeah, honestly, they do. They just sound like Star Wars blasters. Once again, that enemy sort of burned himself, so he just exploded into, like, embers. Yeah, it's down here. One thing I will concede is an improvement on the original is that I don't think the armors are gender locked anymore. We'll confirm for ourselves when we get down. Stop dodging. Stand still. I'm not taking any chances.
You make no sense.
Can actually blow you up if they get near the exploding barrels. And here's the real prize, the Cling Ring, which I will replace the Providential Ring. I don't know why the Cling Ring looks different. I sort of like the original look of it. But once again, things just sort of change because why not? All the rings, I think, most of them look different. But again, seemingly no real reason other than let's just change it. I think, let me go and find that quote from Gavin Moore, the director of the Demon's Souls remake, and one of the former sort of head honchos at Bluepoint. He said into IGN, "The thing for us you have to remember is that the way you played the game 11 years ago is not the way you imagine the game. You imagine it completely different. We had to basically create the game as the way that the players of the original PlayStation 3 version imagined it to be. And then, at the same time, make sure that we created a game the new generation of gamers could enjoy and love as well." Now, I find that quote, frankly, just kind of insulting. Like, oh, you didn't really like the original game. You fell in love with a version of it that exists in your head that's just sort of something you imagined. Oh, I should have gone down and got the armor, shouldn't I? Yeah, you fell in love with a version of the game, and you've got rose tinted goggles. If you actually were to play the real game, it's not what you remember. That, like I said, is borderline insulting. I can turn my PlayStation 3 on right now if I wanted and play the game as it was in 2009, And it is still absolutely the game that I fell in love with. The game that captured my imagination and made me fall in love with this series. The idea that I'm only remembering like a fake version of it and that this is somehow, closer to what I remember is just not true at all. Like, so many things are different in ways that some are just baffling. Like, why change the ring designs? That is a detail that doesn't even matter, really. The look of the rings, some of them, I haven't done any great study on it, but they don't, it just seems like an arbitrary change, just changing things for the sake of it. And I can't understand why. I think when you're making a remake, anytime you think that you want to change something, you have to have a really good reason for it. Not just, oh, we're just going to make it different because. And if you don't understand, why something was the way it was in the original, and you don't have a good reason for making it different other than just novelty, then I think you should leave it the hell alone. I'm getting wound up. I'm winding myself up. That quote is crazy as hell. I genuinely can't believe someone remaking a game would say that. Yeah, and for as much as as far as I can tell, it's been Bluepoint's ethos on remakes for as long as they've been doing them. For as long as they've been given latitude to remake games from the ground up. I think it was their approach with the Shadow of the Colossus remake, which is a game I defended and I liked and enjoyed, but I've since soured on it because I saw this one as so egregious that it actually turned me against a remake they previously did that I liked.
Good day to you. Mostly stolen, but who's telling me?
Another crazy facial animations. Oh, that was a guy jumping in there. I will purchase grass. Can't really afford that much anyway.
Thanks for that. Come back soon.
Really, can we get the same dialogue as we get in the original?
Brave knight or lowly fodder? The demons snatched their souls regardless of their station, plummeting them all into madness. And those who dare cling to their humanity, it is the end of Great Boletaria as we know it. But hell, at least the demons don't send us to our deaths in battle.
So they changed that guy's voice acting a little bit, but yes, he mentions at least the demons don't send us to our deaths in battle, suggesting that part of the problem with Boletaria wasn't that the demons have invaded, but the corrupt nobles sending people to deaths in battle. That's part of the problem. Which, completely contradicts this idea that, I don't know, that the kingdom has been abandoned and fallen into this chaotic situation. I don't think we're going to get to see one of the fat officials on stream, because I'm probably going to end the stream before then. But they're another design that was just reworked for seemingly no real reason other than to make things look different and to fit with the more sort of grotesque, I don't know, like Bloodborne style design. Rather than being these kind of maybe the cause of the problems in Boletaria, the fat officials look like victims of it in this. Because they're covered in boils and pustules and... I stagger him. The fuck was that? I backstabbed him as I fell off the edge. I don't think that's ever happened before. Just scaring him a little. Let's go rescue a Lant, because why not? Now, Alant is an interesting one because he is a prince that has been has been away from the kingdom and is surprised to find it in such a state. But he's not an old man. So, once again, with this sort of suggests this idea that Boletaria has only recently fallen into chaos, which is a very different story than the all this overgrowth is telling us. I don't remember you being here. Do you remember that? A blue-eye knight there. Strange that I can target him even before he comes through the wall. Circle round. Yes, Sin. The reason I'm playing this game is to make a point. I had a lot of people on Twitter accusing me of having not played the remake, and therefore I was being unduly harsh on it and not giving it its fair shake. So I decided to play it in order to talk about some of the things that I couldn't fit into tweets, like the art direction and seemingly random changes that have been made. And as well so that, I have something I can point people towards when they go, oh, what are your criticisms of it? I can go, look, go and watch this stream VOD I recorded where I talk, just in the first area about some of my problems. And, I have me feeling people are going to criticize the way I play the game. They're going to call me, I'm being a coward because I'm just using magic. I've always used magic in these games. I think it's fun. I like being a wizard. But also, if you don't use magic here, these guys can explode those barrels and get killed. Which, the reason I'm coming here is because if you don't do this, Ostrava has a tendency to come over here and get himself killed, which is very annoying. So yeah, I would parry that remark that, oh, you're just bad at the game and that's why you don't like it, with, I know these games so well that I literally know strategies for how to keep the NPCs alive. You can barely hear him. Not quite everyone. It's the ones with the flaming swords you've got to worry about, because they can do that.
My thanks for your brave rescue. I am Ostrava of Boletaria. Accept this as a token of my gratitude.
I also hate it when people complain about people using NPC summons and the like. Yeah, it's annoying to me that these games became this notable for this brutal challenge.
Now I take my leave. There is something I must do.
Something being he's going to go straight to where he would get killed normally by those. I think there's a chance he can get killed. It's not always a given. Oh yeah, I can show off that the animations, the parry animations are different for the scimitar. But yeah, not using summons and stuff. It's like it was put into the game to be used, and notably summoning people for bosses makes the bosses harder because they expected you to do that. Yeah, it's annoying to me how these games became like a kind of like a test of gamer cred, whether you could beat them and whether you could solo different bosses and stuff. I think it's a great shame because people don't see the games for what they are. They just see them as this sort of like, oh, you're meant to like struggle and prove yourself as a true gamer by soloing all these bosses. I think that it obscured the thing that I fell in love with the game, which was the atmosphere, the world building, the storytelling. I think all of that is. Oh yeah, some of these guys do have the old style helmets. I wonder why the ones at the gate didn't. Oh well. That's good. I'm glad that that those enemy designs have persisted, and they're not all just generic, medievalman. I don't want a dragon to come out. I think it's more or less locked in. It's going to do its fire. It's not. Are you kidding me? Has anybody ever wanted the clicking in the right stick to like center the camera? Is that ever like a gameplay feature that people have been like, oh, I really wish? Ouch, ouch. Kind of want it to go away now. So there we go. Now hopefully all those guys are dead. Like, oh, the guys at the very end. Now, if you're an absolute madman, I think you can actually kill the dragon here. Luckily, I'm not crazy, so I'm not going to waste my time. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think if you were going to change the game and iterate on it, that would have been an obvious point of improvement. Hi there, forehead weapon. Welcome to the stream, good to have you. I imagine moongrass tasting even better, like juicy lettuce with mint, more potent it is. Yeah, no, I always thought the moongrass probably tastes really good. Like, it's like spearmint, and then there's the crescent moongrass probably tastes more sort of like a bit licoricey or like aniseedy. It's kind of more yellow. I don't know, maybe that's delicious to me, maybe that's gross to other people. Which side? Oh, I was meant to try and parry one of them, wasn't I? Oh well. Iron resin. Bluepoint was going to add all this stuff to the game. They should have added extra arrogant and added in the missing levels. Yeah, that would have been a worthy thing for them to, if they could have remade the rest of the game in accordance with how things looked in the original, and then as a treat to themselves, they could have gone, and here's a bonus level that is entirely optional. You don't have to do, but it's our sort of tribute to FromSoft. They could have made the other Archstone, which is broken in the original. They could have made some kind of like way of fixing it, and then you could go to it in this. That would have been, I think, a perfectly respectful thing to do, and I would have liked to see what they come up with. You know, because then if I didn't like it, I could just ignore it. Whereas instead, their artistic decisions have altered and morphed most of the game to fit with their sensibilities. And it's very difficult to ignore the fact that all the architecture has been replaced with, you know, these like Norman fortresses have been replaced with these Gothic spires, and which weapon of mine is doing more damage? Probably the scimitar for now. Keep that equipped. I haven't even been able to level up, so it doesn't actually matter which weapon I use. That made sense in my head. I just finished my script on a video I'm doing for Shadow of the Colossus. Very good game. Yeah, and I originally liked the remake of that. But, you know, I got turned against it by this game, sadly. Yeah, no, I you know, Shadow of the Colossus is an incredible game, and I think it deserves more love that it's probably unfortunately not going to get, because I don't think the one studio that had shown a competence for porting things across, Bluepoint, no longer exist. And you know that's what I said at the beginning of the stream. I do not want to come across like I'm dancing on Bluepoint's grave. I am not happy that they've been shuttered. I don't think they deserved it or anything spiteful like that. I'm just criticizing a piece of art they made, art decisions they made, and art direction they took. Here's something I haven't talked about much before we go into this boss fight. The UI in this game, I don't like it. I think the old UI was really iconic. The UI in all the Souls games has this kind of quite scratchy look to it, especially in Dark Souls. I think the health bars look almost like they've been drawn onto the screen in like a wax crayon, and it's a very kind of like iconic look. And in Demon Souls, the eye in the top left corner is in this sort of weird rune.
Sexy boy.
Thank you for following, Forehead Weapon. Good to have you. But the UI in this one looks way too clinical. Now I'm going to have to just hide the chat for a second. But yeah, you said it, Ubercat. The UI just has no flavour. Now let me hide you all for a second while I look at the bottom left there. It's just so clinical. It's clinical and generic, and sourceless, I think. It just looks so meaninglessly functional. It loses the feeling of the old UI, and this is another detail that I think, why change it? The previous UI was fine. It did not need to be altered. So why has it been changed? How do I do this quickly? I want crescent moon grass, then this can be pine resin, and I probably won't need many of the fire bombs. It's been designed correctly according to general standards and conventions, but it's not more than that. Yeah, it's purely sort of, it looks so clinical. And I think that takes away some of the atmosphere and flavour of the game, in my view. Yeah, it looks like any other UI in any other game, whereas the old UI looked very striking and I don't know, captured the imagination. Anyway, here's Phalanx, or Phalanx, depending on how you want to pronounce that. In the original, Phalanx glows blue. This whole environment is kind of quite poorly lit for starters, but Phalanx glows blue because I think the soul in the centre of Phalanx is supposed to be the soul of a once great warrior. but instead has been mutated into this demon. How we get some of these things off him. We're bouncing off the shields of the ones behind. Oh, God. Wait, back up a bit. Oh, I didn't mean to use that. Give them good grass. But Phalanx now glows green for some reason, which, again, is a weird change that I don't understand. Why the decision to change the colour of Phalanx? It now is no longer associated with the soul arts and with sort of demonic. You know, the souls are all sort of blue, and now just looks, you know, a high contrast sort of colour to contrast with the orange of the candles lighting the arena and the torches on the walls. Oh shit. But also, this kind of epic music playing. This isn't, I don't think, a particularly epic or grand boss. Phalanx is actually kind of like a bit of a pathetic boss. It's this creature that's having to hide behind all these minions and throws projectiles at you. It's a very practical like boss. This is like, you know, it's a boss that's employing like an actual legit military strategy. This kind of music with a kind of swelling like chorus to it. It sounds like something you'd hear in a Disney park, honestly. I don't have any more fire bombs, do I? Fire damage, I think, penetrates through the shields of Phalanx. But also, I think I'm using a slashing weapon, and shields block slashing weapons very. Start shooting some of them off him now. Oh, I can't quite see the chat name. Graphically Wrong Mister. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you. Any of you who are here from Twitter, by the way, please consider dropping me a follow. Feeling particularly generous, a sub would be very much appreciated. And you can also find me on YouTube and follow me there. That would be very much appreciated. No, I'm just going to shoot this guy. There we go. Now Phalanx just runs away. Yeah, this sort of like epic choral chanting music is just such an ill fit for this boss, I think. Oh, I didn't even see you called me handsome. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm blushing. Blushing IRL. The deed is done.
You're a real egotistical woman.
I am. Fair enough. Fair cop, Raiden. I mean, I'm not a woman, but I am egotistical.
Sexy boy.
Thank you for following Ubercat. Even the text, yeah, the text that is, you know, again, an iconic part of the original has just been replaced with a sort of generic, like, filler text. Yes, thank you very much for following. I need to touch the archstone. Head back to the Nexus. They use the same phrase, but it's written in a font that feels generic. Yeah, exactly. Like, it robs it of this sort of mystic feel, I think. And it's, again, why change it? Why change it?
Welcome back.
Do they think people wouldn't like the old text?
The monumental awaits the above.
Now, sort of like, you know, this place looks like it's all been gilded with gold, and it looks luxurious, like a shrine rather than a sort of abandoned, forgotten temple. And yeah, I think I don't think the Maiden in Black particularly good either.
The monumental will explain the nexus to thee. The monumental awaits the above. The monumental will explain the nexus to thee.
Like I'm not crazy about this. It's gonna turn around to view me. I wonder if I can photo mode. We can get a closer look. Yeah, I mean, you know, she just looks like what you'd imagine her to look like if you ask someone to come up with a Blender model and update her model. She just sort of looks how you'd expect, honestly. I liked that the original, you know, her look. It wasn't quite clear where the wax ended and her face began, but here it's very, very clear. I don't think, I can't remember whether she originally had these sort of like jewelry details as well. I mean, I'd probably not, because there wasn't the same high fidelity models, but anyway, I've talked a fair bit about what I dislike. Yeah, we've gone through the first two whole areas of the game. I've had plenty of opportunities to kind of talk and wax lyrical about the things I don't like. I will be a cat now. Although I refuse to meow unless you subscribe to me. But yeah, like, I think I'm going to end the stream here. I've not really got much else to say. There's plenty to talk about. Well, I do have lots else to say, but it's all hidden in the other levels, and I don't really want to play through the entire game today. If there's interest, I might stream some more tomorrow. I might stream the original tomorrow, just as a palate cleanser. So yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I forgot to mention. Yeah, I'm not impressed by the sound design in this game. I think it sounds like generic. I think the music is egregious, and we haven't really had much opportunity to discuss the music because we haven't gotten to some of the more sort of iconic music tracks like Made in Australia. I think they butchered that in this game. And yeah, the music that plays when you're fighting Old King Alant. We couldn't get into Old King Doran's tomb because there's plenty to talk about inside there, but that's quite late into the game. Latria is an area, actually, that I would love to talk about. I don't think we can go there, unfortunately. But yeah, in Latria, the once royal mistress, her singing in the original is this kind of two-tone wailing, which at first you don't know where it's coming from and sounds really unnerving and unsettling, like someone sort of like singing to you from the ether, but they're not singing a song. It's just these two very haunting. In the remake, she's singing the Old One's lullaby, which is implied to be the song that the Maiden in Black sings to the Old One to lull him back to sleep. It replaces a haunting, eerie wail with a soothing lullaby that is so out of place in the first area of Latria, which is meant to be a prison. It's meant to be a bleak and depressing place, but instead you get this kind of soothing lullaby being sung by the once royal mistress. Just a completely baffling change. Like, why change this, and why change it in that direction that fundamentally undermines the vibe of the place? And there's more I could say about the once royal mistress. Like, in the original, her face, she's implied to be a member of the Soul Society, and she has a gold mask, much like the other members of the Soul Society, but it's been burned onto her face by the old monk as punishment, perhaps. In the remake, she just looks like a kind of like a zombie woman who's been sort of like facially disfigured. The mask is completely gone. And again, it's just like, it feels like Blue Point just changed things without any real thought or consideration for the impact those would have on what these original design decisions said about the world, said about the characters. What was the environmental like details? What was the story it was telling you? What was the vibe it was giving you? Blue Point seemed to have changed things without any real consideration for how it changes the vibe of the original. And worse, that quote I read from Gavin Moore suggests that they thought that this is an improvement or an iteration somehow. You know, the dusty yellow of the Nexus has been replaced with these kind of these greens and golds, which give it a color grading that just looks so generic to me. It's so similar to every other project out there, and it looks like an impressive tech demo, but that's about all it manages. And I think that, as we discussed with the character creator right through to now, there's no visual coherency being told. There's no singular vision for how this thing should look. It's all just a bunch of inspirations and copying aesthetics from other games and other styles without necessarily any thought put into how it all coheres together and coalesces into a singular vision. And just to loop back around to talking about the soundtrack, one of my favourite tracks in the entire original game, the Nexus theme, that is melancholy and thoughtful and deliberately silent in places and slow and quite relaxing as well, is here just seemingly gone for no real reason. And it's just, it's frustrating to talk about this game because all that, when you're talking on Twitter, people just post screenshots of it and go, yeah, but this looks better. And it's so superficial, their sort of engagement with it. Oh, this image has more foliage in it and more details, therefore it's better. Without any context for what those details mean, what the story they're telling. And yeah, that's another reason I wanted to stream this today, to just sort of put some of these thoughts down, because they do require a longer form of speech than and talking through than you can really get on Twitter, where if you talk for too long on Twitter, if you make a multi-threaded tweet, people just ignore it and go, yeah, but look at this screenshot. this looks pretty. Anyway, yeah, I really am going to end here. I hope you all have a great week. I hope to stream tomorrow. I don't know whether I'll stream more of this or maybe the original, or maybe I'll just go back to playing fighting games. But I hope you'll join me. And if not, be well, take care. Yeah, have a great week, everyone. Bye bye.